I Am Not Going to America by Alain Chamois, fanzine writer.
Chairlifts remind me of that Herzog film, Strozek, which is about a street singer. To escape constant harassment in Germany after leaving prison, Bruno Strozek emigrates with two friends to America, to a barren Wisconsin. His experience of America turns from idyllic to nightmarish very quickly, and he ends up at the end of the film without a girl, house, friends, or money. He sets fire to his pickup truck in a car park near a bizarre fun fair, and leaves it running in first gear with the steering wheel yanked to the left, describing a slow, flaming circle. Once inside the empty fair, he operates one of the booths containing a real chicken. When initiated, the chicken pecks at a small jukebox, which sets off a spinning circular dance floor that the chicken seems to dance on as it tries to balance itself. The little dance floor looks like a disguised record turntable. Bruno, carrying a frozen chicken he had stolen from a shop on the way, then switches on a chairlift that goes up a small hillside and rides on it until he shoots himself with a rifle. The film fades with the image of the live chicken in the fun fair, continuing to dance on the turntable. All this in turn reminds me of a vinyl record called Still, which has these words scratched into its runoff grooves. The chicken won't stop, the chicken stops here. It's a posthumous album released by a band from Manchester, England called Joy Division, a year and a half after their demise. The singer Ian Curtis hung himself in May 1980, the morning after seeing Strozek on BBC Two television and listening to Metallic KO by Iggy Pop, a live recording of the last ever Stooges gig. Joy Division were going to tour America for the first time, flying out the next day, and the band and record company were very optimistic about the trip. The rest of the band had their suitcases packed when they heard of Ian's death. This in turn reminds me of the last performance by a band from various towns around northern England, called Rooney. Their last gig took place in Manchester in October 2000. Their then lead singer, Dermot Bucknell, had left prison 3 years before. He had been convicted of noise pollution after busking with amplifiers in the courtyard of his block of flats in Macclesfield, not far from the crematorium containing Ian Curtis's memorial stone. Dermot was in prison for persistent offending and could not afford the fine. That final Rooney gig, at an exhibition opening at the old Smithfield Market building, started out well enough, despite the PA system not arriving. The band improvised their own PA with their own mics and mixer. After 5 or so songs, Dermot started to chant in a gap between songs, just repeating the words, Norman Collier, in more and more contorted ways. He then took out a small frozen chicken from his holdall, pulled his suit jacket down below his shoulders to simulate the stance of a chicken, and ran and walked in circles around the rest of the band for at least 5 minutes. Eventually he lay down on the floor, there was no stage, with the chicken on his chest, continuing his repetitive chant. Norman Collier was an English comic, popular in the northern clubs in the early 80s, who had an act that included a manic impersonation of a chicken. The band performed another song without Dermot's vocals, but realising Dermot was not going to snap out of his reverie, finished their set to a small shower of plastic beer glasses half-heartedly thrown by some of the audience. It was not unusual for Rooney gigs to end with such unusual occurrences, particularly in the period when Dermot was the singer. The rest of the band left him lying on the floor, silent, eyes closed, for the rest of the night until they were ready to pack up their equipment. Dermot headed back to Liverpool that night with the rest of the band, without saying a word to anybody, slept in the van, his van, and drove back to Macclesfield the next day. But before leaving, he put a note through Paul's door. It read, I am not going to America. Though the band had no plans to gig in the States, Paul knew what he meant.